Everyone has their own story, a reason why they are the way they are. We have all faced challenges in our lives that have ultimately shaped who we are. Everyone has a story on how they got to where they are today. My name is Mataya Mitchell, and my place in Canadian history goes back to 1925 when my great-grandpa, Nils Pearson, immigrated to Canada. My great-grandpa was born on May 16, 1909 in Stoby, Sweden. He grew up in a home that his father and grandpa grew up in as well. Back at home, Nils enjoyed fishing, tobogganing, ice skating on frozen rivers, and football. Growing up, he only had a few chores to do, mostly making sure there was wood in the house for heating and cooking. At the age of 14, Nils went to work for a farmer for 2 years. He made 25 Swedish crowns a month. This is $5 Canadian. When he was just 16 years old, his father forced him to move to Canada to work. Nils didn't have a choice about settling in any other country. His father had told him he would be back in Sweden in 5 years, but that didn't happen, and moving to Canada meant he had to leave his mother, 3 sisters, and younger brother, which was very hard for him. His father had already been in Canada for a year before he came over. He traveled to Canada by boat and it took 9 days. It was a long, miserable trip for him because he was seasick through the whole thing. He arrived in Halifax, Nova Scotia. From there he took the train to Hearst, Saskatchewan, where he worked and lived on the Olsen farm with his father for 5 years. When Nils arrived, he could barely speak English. He learned English from the Olsens, the people at the farm he was working at. Learning English was difficult for him. At the time of my great-grandpa's immigration, William Lyon Mackenzie King was Prime Minister. Nils moved to Canada at one of the best times, the prosperous 20s. At this time, Mackenzie King was involved in helping Canada's independence, building the country's image, and making great relationships with other countries. Canada was booming at this time because people from all over the world were immigrating to Canada for work and a better life. In the summer of the prosperous 20s, he made $40 a month. In the winter, he didn't get paid as much because there wasn't much work to be done. Nils and his father also made and sold furniture. With the money him and his father made, they bought a half section of farmland and built a house on it. After my great-grandpa and his father bought this land, the Dirty 30s hit. Once the Dirty 30s hit, there weren't many crops, which meant not much work to do. The government had to get trains to ship hay to Hearst from Manitoba. During harvest time though, Nils went and worked for other people in areas with better crops. He made $25 a month, working long, hard hours from 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. This was a challenge for my great-grandpa. After times started to get better, Nils' younger brother came to Canada. A year later, Nils' father moved back to Sweden because he didn't enjoy Canada. He left my great-grandpa and his other son in Hearst. He gave his farm and the mineral rights to Nils' younger brother, and this upset my great-grandpa. My great-grandpa didn't find it fair because he was the one who had to leave his family, work hard, and put money into that farm. Near the end of the Dirty 30s, he rented some land and later on got married to Irma King, my great-grandma. My great-grandma moved to Canada from Dundee, USA, when she was just 2 years old in 1910. Her family decided to move to Canada to get a fresh start to a better life. Many people from the United States were traveling to Canada at this time for free homes and better lives. Canada's population was growing. Once they got married, Nils bought a half section of land off Irma's father. He farmed on this land and later on bought more land. He raised cattle, and at the time, cattle did not sell for much. Cows sold for about $10, and calves that were around a year old only sold for $3. After the 30s were over, things started to come around. My great-grandpa kept farming, and my great-grandma was a housewife. In 1942, my grandpa Leonard Pearson was born. He was born in Beanfate, Saskatchewan, and grew up on a farm just outside of Hearst. When my grandpa got a bit older, they moved into the town of Hearst, where he went to school and met my grandma, Helen Tookshire. Today, they live in the house they went to school in together. My grandma Helen and grandpa Leonard got married in 1963 and moved to Beanfate. In 1967, they had my dad, Sean Carl Pearson. He was born and raised in Beanfate. Through grades K to 8, he went to school in Beanfate, and from grades 9 to 12, he went to Estevan Comprehensive School. At Estevan Comprehensive School, he met my mom, Melissa Mitchell. My mom's mother is Mira Rearsgaard, born to Bertinus Rearsgaard and Alice Schumann. Bertina's parents were both born in Norway. Evan Rearsgaard, Bertina's father, immigrated to USA in 1876, and Julia Halverson, Bertina's mother, immigrated to USA as well, but in 1879. In 1896, they had Bertinus. He arrived to Estevan, Saskatchewan in 1909 and was drafted to the military in July of 1918. but did not serve until 1939 in Kingston, Ontario, Petawawa, Ontario, Sussex, Ontario, and as well as overseas. My great-grandma, Alice Schumann, was born in 1907 to Michael Henry Schumann and Mary Rogers. Michael was born in Bavaria, Germany, and Mary was born in Minnesota, USA. In 1912, the family migrated to Canada to start a fresh life in Rangeview, Saskatchewan. My mom's father, Sebastian Mitchell, born to Linus Mitchell and Veronica Bachmeyer, was born in 1895 in Odessa, Russia. Linus departed from Liverpool, England on the Virginian ship and set out to Halifax, Canada in 1912. Veronica was also born in Russia and immigrated to Halifax. She departed from Hamburg, Germany and traveled to Halifax by boat. My mom, along with her other 11 siblings, lived in Chilliwack until she was around 15 years old when her parents decided to move to Estevan for work. And as I was saying before, my mom and dad met at Estevan Comprehensive School. They were together for about 6 years and then they had me on May 11th, 1999. When I was about a year old, they split up. I grew up with my mom and 2 siblings. I had a great childhood and have many great memories that will always be with me. Although I do have Russian, German, and Norwegian roots, I believe that my place in Canadian history goes back to 1925 when my great-grandpa, Nils Pearson, immigrated to Canada from Sweden. Growing up in Canada has defined the person I am today. I wouldn't have wanted to grow up in any other country. I am proud to be Canadian. I'm Mataya Mitchell, and this is my place in Canadian history.